Welcome back. The news in details. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Monday emphasized on the necessity of intensifying efforts to contain the situation and stop the war in order to end the ongoing tragedy suffered by Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, as he received a U.S. Congress delegation. Presidential spokesman Councillor Ahmed Fahmy said the delegation hailed the Egyptian efforts for sending continuous humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. The spokesman said President al-Sisi called for intensifying international efforts for a ceasefire. He added that al-Sisi also stressed on the necessity of international push for two-state solution. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi will head to Beijing upon an invitation by his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, where the two leaders will hold summit talks. The presidential spokesman said that the talks will tackle various international and regional issues of mutual concern, on top of which is the war on Gaza and means of restoring stability in the region. The head of state will also meet with several chairmen of the Chinese major companies, where he will discuss means of attracting more investments to Egypt through localizing industry and transferring technology. The spokesman added that during his visit to China, the president will attend the opening session of the Arab-Chinese 10th Ministerial Forum, which will witness the participation of China's president and several Arab leaders. Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry on Monday headed for the Chinese capital Beijing after he wrapped up his visit to Belgium in preparation for the 10th ministerial meeting of the Arab-Chinese Cooperation Forum scheduled for May 30th. While in Brussels, the top diplomat took part in a number of meetings held by the European Union and met a number of his European counterparts on boosting bilateral ties and regional developments, particularly in Gaza.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry concluded his visit on Monday to Brussels, where he held a series of meetings on the sidelines of his participation in a European Union Foreign Ministers Convention. With the participation of Foreign Minister Shoukry, a delegation of the Arab Ministerial Committee held a meeting with the European Union officials on halting war in Gaza. The attendees called for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state, the ratification by the United Nations Security Council of an international peacekeeping force in line with international laws. The delegation stressed the necessity that a united Palestinian security institution assumes power in the Gaza Strip. Meeting with the EU Commissioner for Neighbourhood and Enlargement, Oliver Barley, Shoukry stressed the necessity that Israel bears its responsibility towards civilians in Gaza, particularly in Rafah city being an occupier by the international law. The minister reiterated Egypt's absolute rejection of Israeli attempts to hinder the access of humanitarian law into the Strip through its control of the Palestinian side of the Rafah border crossing. Egypt's top diplomat made similar remarks in a meeting with the Spanish counterpart José Manuel Albares, pressing for an immediate international action to pressure Israel to halt its military actions in southern Gaza, being the last shelter of more than 1 million internally displaced Palestinians. Albares, meanwhile, affirmed his country's continued efforts for drumming up international consensus on ending war in Gaza and boosting the recognition of a Palestinian state. Separately, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry discussed with his Italian counterpart Antonio Tajani the developments of the Rafah military operation. The meeting also touched on the distinguished bilateral ties in the framework of preparation for Egypt's hosting of the Egyptian-European Investment Conference next month.
The Armed Forces spokesman said in a statement, a member of Egypt's security forces was killed on Monday in a shooting incident near the Rafah border crossing between Egypt and the Gaza Strip. The spokesman added that an investigation is underway into the incident. Israel's military had earlier said it was investigating reports of an exchange of fire between Israeli and Egyptian soldiers. In June 2023, 3 Israeli soldiers and an Egyptian security officer were killed in a clash at the border. Egypt on Monday condemned what it called the deliberate bombardment by Israeli forces of displaced people's tents in Rafah in strikes which Gaza's Civil Defense Agency said caused the death and injury of hundreds of unarmed Palestinian civilians. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry issued a statement calling on Israel to implement the measures ordered by the International Court of Justice concerning an immediate cessation of military operations in Rafah. The ministry condemned the strike as a new flagrant violation of the provisions of international humanitarian law. It deplored the tragic event and denounced the targeting of defenseless civilians and a systematic policy aimed at widening the scope of death and destruction in the Gaza Strip to make it uninhabitable. Al-Azhar strongly denounced the Israeli brutal airstrike that triggered a massive blaze and killed dozens of people in a tent camp in the Gaza city of Rafah on Monday. In a statement, Al-Azhar asserted that the occupation Israeli forces committed a crime which led to the death of 45 martyrs, mostly women and children. The statement also called on the international community to take firm and strict measures to implement the International Court of Justice resolutions against Israel, topped by an immediate stop for the terrorist aggression on Rafah. Welcome back. In the economic news, Prime Minister Madbouli inspected on Monday a number of factories in Alexandria and Bahira governorates. Following his inspection tour, Madbouli held a press conference to review the latest economic developments in various sectors. Madbouli asserted his keenness to reduce the importation gap and added that the government is cooperating with the private sector to increase Egypt's exportations during the coming period. The Premier illustrated that the state seeks to increase its energy resources. 60% of natural gas is used in electricity consumption, and added that Egypt's consumptions of petroleum substances reached $55 billion annually. He further reiterated keenness on providing basic commodities at suitable prices and said that Egypt produces hundreds of billions of subsidized loaves of bread annually. Madbouli pointed out to the global economic crisis and reviewed efforts taken to face its repercussions at the local level.